Hey, Tim Frisch with A Frisch Perspective here. In this video, I wanted to talk about an article I saw from Todd Starnes, which says pastors organizing to fight back against tyrannical Democrat shutdowns, dated October 10th. So this article just came out the other day, and before I talk about it, I first of all just wanted to thank everybody who is a recent subscriber, and for all of my previous subscribers who've been spreading the word about this channel. If you are new to this channel or you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, because I'm getting really close to the 10,000 subscriber goal, and that is absolutely amazing to me that I've reached that. And it's really thanks to all of you for watching, for sharing these videos, for commenting in the comment section. It all goes toward helping more and more people know about this channel and helping these videos reach a wider and wider audience. So thank you. Now, looking at this article here, it's really interesting. It talks about these pastors organizing. I will leave a link to this article, and this article also has the podcast that's being talked about here from Todd Starnes. The article says, Brian Gibson, a megachurch pastor, told the Todd Starnes Show on Wednesday that churches across the U.S. were caught off guard during state crackdowns on worship, but lessons have since been learned, and it's high time that pastors start spreading the good word on how to fight back. We're going to give pastors and church leaders information that's going to help them stand up for their First Amendment rights, stand up for the freedom to worship, stand up to tyrannical governors, and to stand their ground for the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ, the pastor said on the radio show. Gibson, the senior pastor of his church in Owensboro, Kentucky, announced an event scheduled for next Tuesday called Church Prepared, You Are Not Alone. His group, the Peaceably Gather Coalition, organized it to support pastors in a very difficult time in our nation's history. Further down, the article says, Gibson is the pastor of churches in Kentucky and Texas. He said he has had to deal with restrictions he never thought possible in the country. But it's here. It's upon us, he said. It's become clear to me, Todd, that the church was not prepared for what we're facing. He said that churches have been able to adapt to the restrictions handed down by state governors, and the event hopes to share knowledge about what pastors can do going forward. He called Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear a Democrat, anti-church in his mandates on church service. The Courier-Journal reported Thursday that Kentucky has seen a recent uptick in coronavirus cases and currently has 672 patients hospitalized and 161 in intensive care units. The paper reported 5 new deaths, all above 65 years old. These pastors insist that they are not reckless when it comes to the coronavirus, but call the state guidelines arbitrary at best, anti-religion at worst. Gibson encouraged all church leaders to sign up churchprepared.com to reserve their seats. So I've been talking about pastors like John MacArthur, Rob McCoy, who are both over in California. I talked recently about Pastor Mark Dever at Capitol Hill Baptist Church in Washington, D.C., and all of these are examples of pastors and churches that are fighting back against government restrictions. The government in various places has been restrictive in not allowing churches to meet indoors, or if they are allowing them to meet indoors, meet in very limited capacities. We're talking in some places where even if you're allowed to meet indoors, you can only have 25% capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer. And if you have a big building that holds a lot of people and you can only have 100 people in that building, that really is a problem for certain ministries. So various churches, especially in those very restrictive areas, are fighting back. But even here in Kentucky, they're seeing some problems. And so it's interesting, this is an interesting development, that they're not only fighting back as an individual church, but they're calling other churches to organize together. And they actually do have a website here called churchprepared.com. It's the Peaceably Gather Coalition that the article talked about. It says, Church Prepared, You Are Not Alone. Pastors and church leaders free webinar Tuesday, October 13th at 7 p.m. Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Central Time, and 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And the website says, Supporting Pastors to Thrive in Challenging Times. Church Prepared is equipping faith leaders and their congregations across the nation with the resources they need to defend their First Amendment rights, their congregations, their families, and most importantly, their faith. Join Peaceably Gather founder Brian Gibson and an expert lineup who will share important information and valuable resources available for you and your church to navigate this unprecedented time in our nation's history. It's going to be hosted by Todd Starnes, and here is the lineup of speakers. And it also has a quote here: "This country was founded by people of faith taking a stand, and it will only survive if people of faith take a stand once again." Pastor Brian Gibson, founder of Peaceably Gather. So it really correlates with Pastor John MacArthur's call to churches to open up, and it sounds like this group here is an organization that's really going to help churches to know how to navigate the situation we're facing in the United States right now with restrictions. Now, of course, all the restrictions that the government is placing are said to be justified because of the COVID-19 situation. However, as we're looking at the statistics, many pastors are challenging the statement that it is justified to have these restrictions. So if you are a pastor or you are in a ministry and you're looking for how to deal with opening up and making sure your First Amendment rights are protected, this organization here is something you may really want to look into. Now, I know there are going to still be many ministries that continue to follow government guidelines. I've said for a long time, really, each ministry and church leaders need to do what they feel is best according to their context. But I've also said it's really good to see people making sure that we protect our First Amendment rights. I think this organization is a really great idea. I think it will really be an encouragement and a help to many pastors and ministries. I do want to talk more this week about lockdowns and the statistics on lockdowns. I think there's really interesting information that continues to come out, so it will be good to take a look at that. But that's what I wanted to share with you in this video. I hope it was interesting and helpful. I'd love to hear what you think about all of this in the comments below. Just try to keep those comments positive and helpful to discussion. But as always, thank you so much for listening to what I have to say from A Frisch Perspective.